Bob, let's start with you, if I may, please. Where are we on high def? Is it now really a standard for broadcasting?
Yes, I think so. I think to all practical intents and purposes it is. It's a standard in the sense that it's an aspiration for everybody that we are working with, no question about it. There's a lot of in-depth conversation about what standard actually is it below the surface of that. But just about every client we're dealing with these days either is going HD, has HD, or has HD aspirations. And he's talking about their major projects have to be HD ready. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be HD. It just means they're ready for the road, the journey. Some broadcasters are still SD 4:3, and they've got quite a big challenge just to get themselves in 16:9 before they go to HD. But they know that. And we're seeing it everywhere. All around the world with our clients, everybody is saying, okay, if I'm going to do this, I clearly need to make it HD capable.
Carl, at Ericsson, you've got a number of hats to wear these days with the, if you like, the telco relationship that Ericsson has. But how are you finding that story? Is high def a standard now for your clients?
What we've seen is, over the last 10 years with first the US and then Australia and then other parts of the world, we've seen the HD rollout. What we're increasingly seeing now is the move of production plant to HD capability, even if, as Bob says, the eventual transmission right now is only SD. And we also see people now gearing up for 1080p 60 or 50, so even a higher rate of high definition readiness today. And
that's not just for mastering, that's a transmission.
Today it's for mastering and editing, because ultimately it becomes a universal format, particularly broaching the 50 hertz, 60 hertz differences between Europe and the US. But eventually, ultimately you're trying to produce your content in the highest quality possible so that you have it archived for future use. And if you start from that highest quality master, then everything lower than that in terms of transmission to the home at the moment is easily derivable.
Ian, is that your view at Harmonic?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking primarily to master in HD just to future-proof. I think there is a danger that people will want to kill off SD because, undoubtedly, a lot of the infrastructure, SD set-top box infrastructure is out there, and you're not going to turn that over overnight. So a lot of it is mastering in HD, and there are benefits for mastering in HD even if you're distributing in SD. I think there are bottlenecks in the distribution system, and I think the point that Bob was making earlier, what exactly is the standard that people are talking about for HD? I think most people associate 1080i with HD now, but there are a lot of American broadcasters who are actually using 720p. And I think one of the big issues for HD at the moment is the transition through to progressive standards from interlace. And I think this business about what actually constitutes the HD master is an interesting question, because there are three viable contenders. The legacy market, which is 1080i, the interim market that's 720p, and then, as Carl was saying, the people who are considering new greenfield sites going up to full 1080p.
Maria, how many channels are you playing out from London?
We're playing somewhere in the region of 50-odd channels.
Well, these guys would love your cheque to be signed. 50 channels in high def. But the
no, sorry.
No, in standard definition. They'd love it to be 50 channels in high def.
Yeah.
The reality is today it's one.
It's two, actually. We have a pan-European feed as well as the UK feed. The UK feed is probably from what I hear from my clients anyway, our more lucrative markets with the Sky deal. And the pan-Euro, it's kind of where MTV started actually in Europe. We went back to one single pan-Euro feed. That where a market makes sense, we may or may opt out to localise it, but in general it's one size fits all across the whole market.
So how do you see your roadmap for high definition playing out? I mean, is it ever going to be important? And some American channels are, maybe you are in the US, I don't know, but some channels are playing out kids programming in high def.
Yeah.
I mean, is that important?
I think, I think in the UK market there is definitely an appetite for us to have more HD offerings, and for our kids and our youth brands, most definitely. Yeah. The rest of Europe, I think the cost of our distribution alone actually somewhat precludes maybe some of our more sort of creative wants in that direction.
So do you see a conversion being complete in more or less 5 years or 10 years, or sooner than that in some markets, maybe longer than that in others?
Yeah, I think your last point there. I think sooner than in some markets. Okay. I think there's certainly a drive from the US that we are much more HD out there in the HD marketplace than we are currently. But of course it always comes back to making commercial sense within the regions, and we have so many small European distribution partners. Does it make sense for us to be localising it for all of those guys, or does it still make commercial sense for them to take a more generic feed and just do something smaller chunks, more locally, to make it relevant to the market, rather than having 50 different HD channels?
Absolutely. Where you've got localised content across Europe, are you, I don't know about beginning to specify, but I mean, are you specifying high def for that in terms of the content capture, even though you may not be playing it out in high def?
Absolutely, yeah, I would agree with both, all three actually on that point, in that we're trying to capture where we can at the highest resolution we can, store it, manage it, archive it, make it available to our clients. The reality is we then compress it down to something, well, let's not go into what we compress it down to. But
256K probably, but I'm joking.
Yeah, it's that big on our mobile phones. But I mean, where we're focusing as a service provider to our clients is to make sure that that material is available at the highest resolution possible, and it is accessible to them. And then it's up to them really where it makes commercial sense to play it out at a higher or lower res, essentially.